Howdy. So the story that I have for you today is I have to do something that I really don't want to do. But if you want to come along for this journey, what I have to do is I have been asked by a friend of mine to fix this necklace. Now, the problem is that, well, I shouldn't say there's a problem. Like the reason why this is something I really don't want to do is like these jump rings are so tiny that there's a really good likelihood that I could melt them and also melt the chain and just like ruin the entire piece for my friend. And that would be pretty terrible. Like I don't want to do that. So I kind of don't want to do this job, but I'm going to, because once I have it fixed and everything has worked out, I'll say to myself, remember why were you so worried about it? Like you know, I can do this. So I'm gonna. So if you want to watch me and see if I still got it, if I'm still good enough to solder these small of jump rings, then let's get to work. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna do in fixing this necklace is I'm gonna open this tiny jump ring with some pliers, and then I'm gonna put it back. Okay, put the chain back in the jump ring, and then I'm gonna close it wicked tight. And then I'm gonna solder all the other jump rings closed too, so that this doesn't happen again. All right, so come with me over to the soldering station and we'll set up the solder job, and then we'll see if I'm going to melt this into a puddle. Let's go. All right, so I got the necklace, and I'm going to put it on a fire brick, kind of like out of the way, so I don't accidentally heat it up. And I've got my little jump ring, so I'm just going to hold that in my cross-locking tweezers. This is like really small, but anyways, like my iPhone isn't even focusing on it. But got my flux, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of flux on the part that I'm gonna solder. And then those of you who have been around for long enough know that I always use hard solder when I can. But for this, since it's so tiny and I'm kind of nervous about it, I'm just going to use medium solder. So I'm going to cut like some really tiny crumbs of medium solder. And then I'm going to just put them, a little tiny crumb on that jump ring right there. It's still like not even focusing. And then for this job, I'm gonna use the smallest size torch tip that I have for this specific torch. So you just wanna come in. Now, we're gonna just make sure that that pallium doesn't go anywhere. Whoop. See, it wants to go away. All right. Let me just quench this so that you can see it. So you can see that I've soldered that one closed, and that little tiny solder pallium may have been too much solder, but that's how much I put on it. So now it's shut. You know, the chain isn't going to slip out of it. And also nothing like, you know, soldered, you know, these two pieces didn't solder together or whatever. So that's always good too. So for this, so now I have to solder this one. And you can see that me soldering this guy actually oxidized this jump ring just because of the heat. It was close to where I was already heating, but I think that this might not have oxidized. So I'm going to set this up and try and do this solder job too. And you gotta watch out because these are probably still hot from the last solder job that we did, but I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna put it in there. I'm making sure, oh, I know that this is terribly out of focus, but I'm making sure that the solder joint that I'm about to connect with the solder is on the top, just because that's the way I prefer to do it. All right, so we're gonna repeat that. So I got my solder, I'm just gonna put the flux on it. And then I got a little, I'm gonna use a smaller pallium this time. Right on there, all right. All right, that did it. And everything is still moving. You know, I just jiggle it with a pair of pliers to make sure that it's all moving. And so now the last one that I have to do is this one right here at the bottom. So this is gonna be hot though, right? Because I just soldered it. So I'm gonna take it out with the tweezers and I'm gonna quench it in my little quench Tupperware. All right, I think that did it. You know, I just quenched this in water and you can see that it's really discovered from the oxidation and probably the leftover flux that, did that even solder? Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, maybe not. Oh no, it might not have soldered. No, I think it did. You know, sometimes you can't tell until after it comes out of the pickle. So we're gonna go put it in the pickle because we have to anyways, because it's like really oxidized and discolored. But then we'll also be able to tell if the thing is closed or not. All right, so this is the pickle pot. And I can't put, you know, the whole thing in the acid because it will destroy the stone and it might, if these are actually aquamarines, it could affect the aquamarines too. There are some stones that you can put in the pickle, but everything that is in this necklace is not the type of stones that you can put in the pickle. And also the clasp, the mechanism of it includes a steel spring. I mean, it could be a stainless steel spring, but either way, I don't know what it is, and so I don't want to put it in the pickle. And there's no reason to put it in the pickle because the only thing that's oxidized and covered with the flux is, you know, the end. And so you can just drape the part that you want to put in the pickle and then, you know, hang the rest of the chain. And I'm actually gonna put the lid on. Like, I know that this is like a really fine chain, but the lid isn't heavy enough. I'm not like grinding the lid on. So it's like, this will be fine. And so then I'm gonna leave this for the amount of time that it takes for the chain to be not oxidized anymore. And so obviously this can vary depending on the strength of your pickle or the temperature of your pickle at the time, or like the alignment of the stars and the moon, you know. So I'll just keep checking on it, and when the oxidation has been removed by the acid, I'll check back in with you. Okay, it's been, I literally have no idea how long it's been because I've been working on other things, but I just checked and the oxidation has been removed from the sterling silver chain and jump rings by the pickle. So I'm just gonna carefully open up and remove the chain so that I don't drop the necklace into the pickle. And then I'm gonna come over to my sink and, well, you can't see this. Hold please. Can you see this now? Yeah, if I bend over, keep my back straight. Okay, so I'm gonna, I obviously have a drain cover. like a mesh drink, like just what you would have in your kitchen sink probably, just to make sure they don't drop anything down the sink, because so I just rinsed, you know, just rinse the acid off, and I'm going to inspect my solder seams, and they all look good. So now I just have to do like a little polishing, because you'll be the places where I had soldered, you know, that got heated up, then I pickled them, you know, the pickle, just that process, just depletion gilded those areas. And so I gotta bring it back to the same kind of level of finish as the rest of the chain. But then we'll be good to go. And I didn't melt it into a puddle, thank goodness. All right, so the last thing that I have to do, like I said, was polish this chain. So I'm going to use one of these little 3M finger wheels that are like basically my favorite things for polishing. And so I'm using this pink micron, which is a really fine finish, but they also come in different colors, which signify the different grits that they are. So here's some of my other favorite grit levels. But the pink one is basically like the polishing. Just chuck it up in my flex shaft handle. And then I'm just gonna take the side that needs to be polished. You know, it's probably good up until here, and then it starts to become the like depletion gilded white. And so I'm just gonna hold it on my bench, you know, nice and tight and taut, and then I'm just gonna polish it against my bench. And you know, the goal is to make sure that the chain doesn't get caught in your flex shaft tool and then like wrap around and then rip apart. Speaking from experience, we don't want that to happen. To polish this jump ring, I'm just gonna hold it around my finger tight, and like I'm not using so much pressure that the flex shaft tool is gonna grab this. And it's very interesting because I've done this a million times and you don't know that, but I feel like also you watching that are probably like, oh, you're gonna rip your finger off. So if I'm still putting this in the video, just know that I didn't rip my finger off. Because I obviously wouldn't put that in. So now this is what the chain looks like once I've polished it with the little flex shaft tool. And then this is the one that I have not yet polished. So you can tell, kind of like see the difference. Left is polished, right is unpolished. So now I'm obviously gonna polish this side. And you can, you know, we've covered this before, but you can see that this part of the chain is also a little bit like that frosted white color. You know, and I'm just moving the elements around to try and get in all the different areas. And these tools are really great because they have these like flexible little fingies that like can get in all the little places. Just like that. right. I'm pretty happy with that. For what it is, looking good. All right. Chain is fixed and should no longer come apart at this junction. Ta-da! Back, front. I know that's too far away for you really to see it, but... And then, as is tradition, I will put the piece in a bag for transportation. And that, my friends, is how you do that. Yeah, so thanks for tuning in to watch me do this little tiny repair, but knowing that I was going to be making a video to show you me doing this tiny repair and giving you a little bit of an insight into what it's like for a jewelry friend that you may have when you're like, oh, can you resize my ring? Oh, can you fix this? I don't even know if you have any friends that are jewelers, but if you do or if you don't, I thought that you might find this video interesting, and I felt like it would be a good way for me to express some of the things that happen. And but it definitely incentivized me to come in here and do this repair, which is good because I'm seeing my friend tomorrow. So yeah, but thanks for tuning in and for being interested in me and my trials and tribulations. So I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one. I can't wait to share it with you. All right. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye. Mwah!